Hey everybody, what is up? It is Berlin. Welcome back to my channel. How are you all doing? Hope you're all having a good weekend, good Saturday, all of that stuff. So, some more has come out about this whole Trisha Paytas, Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star stuff. There is now somebody else who's come forward about these voice memos that Trisha Paytas says that she's heard that were from Shane Dawson, shit-talking Trisha Paytas, and also shit-talking drama channel Peter Mon. Peter Mon mentioned this in his video yesterday, mentioned that he has actually heard the voice memos. He didn't share them, but he said he might well share them at some point. So, the person who sent the voice memos to Peter Mon is called Charles Gros. I didn't actually know who this person was, but Charles Gros is a social media influencer type person, and he has come out in TikToks now explaining his meeting with Shane Dawson. He was apparently on a podcast with Shane Dawson years ago, and he's come out, explained his meeting with Shane Dawson, explained the vibes that he got off of Shane Dawson. It's quite telling. I mean, I wouldn't say his TikToks are bitchy at all, but he's just there kind of saying, okay, well, here's my experience with Shane Dawson. I got a negative vibe from him and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to play you those TikToks right now.
About the Shane Dawson voice memos. First, a lot of you don't know who I am, which is totally fine because I'm irrelevant. But a quick introduction, I was on YouTube and still currently am. And still on Instagram, still YouTuber, still an Instagrammer for the past 6 years. At times I may have had like a minuscule amount of popularity, and none of what I'm doing or none of what I did is in any way a grasp at relevancy or trying to insert myself in anything. I will explain it. But a long time ago, I met Shane Dawson when I was flown to LA to do his podcast. Since then, we've had some discourse. That being said, my policy when it comes to meeting influencers, I've met a bunch of people that work in social media over my 6 years on social media. And my policy is like the prison rule. And I've told people this, the rule in prison, don't tell too much personal information about yourself. Keep your head down, smile, and make nice. So that's what I've done every time I meet an influencer. And I'm really sorry, I'm going to do part 2. And that policy, like the prison rule on social media, is not me being fake. I'm not fake nice to people, but I have never had drama with any person on social media. Despite the many, many things I may hear or have heard or have seen, I never have had any issues with anybody. You just have to and I assumed everyone on social media did that. So when I met Shane, personally, in my opinion, I kind of felt the vibe was off, but I was just like, oh, I guess everybody else feels that way too. And it's just like an unspoken thing. I never brought negative energy to my discourse with Shane. At least I personally don't feel I did. So when he shared what he did about Trisha, I felt like it was, and Peter Mon, I felt like it was a really aggressive, negative energy that was brought to our back and forth. Now I have to do part 3. So when I heard those voice memos from Shane, I was like, wow, that's a really sharp detour into aggressive negativity. That's my opinion of how they came off. I was like, oh. But I was like, that's the vibe, I guess. And so the reason that it has come up now is, again, not for relevancy or a grasp at drama, but I would want someone to look out for me that way, even if they don't know me that well. I would hope someone would look out for me that way too. You know what I mean? So I did nothing publicly, and that's just how I feel. I'm all about honesty, and I have no agenda or allegiance. But I think in the future, people on social media should use my thinking and don't take your relationships on social media too seriously, because social media numbers and people and their whatever is compelling them on social media, you really don't know who anyone really is. They're very mercurial, day to day. So there are people out there who take their relationships on social media, friendships, romantic relationships, business relationships very seriously, and it's totally fine. I'm not criticizing. I just think my opinion and my personal philosophy and ethos when applying to people on social media is, as I said, I'm very nice. I've never had problems with anybody. I just don't give too much personal information, and unless I really get to know someone personally, I kind of like keep things at an arm's distance. Not fake, but that's just the way I do it. And I'm all about honesty, and I would want someone to look out for me too. So that's it. Just like the vibe. Why did Shane send me those voice memos? I don't know. What do they say? That it's not up to me to share. If the people that they are about want to share them, that's their decision. I personally feel that they're really hateful.
So this Charles Gros person is somebody who was on the Shane and Friends podcast about 5-6 years ago, and I couldn't find that. I did have a look for it. I couldn't find it, but he has now come out, as well as those TikToks, which those TikToks, I actually think that advice was kind of sound, you know, the advice about kind of treating YouTube friendships like prison friendships, like, you know, don't say too much to the wrong people, all that kind of thing. I thought that was really sound advice, you know, for anyone on social media. But as well as the TikToks, he also came out in a YouTube live stream and he shared his thoughts on Ryland, because somebody asked him on that stream, why do you think Ryland minimised Trisha? Now, this was interesting. His response to this was very interesting. So I'm going to play you a little bit of his stream. You guys could go and watch it for yourself. But if you haven't seen it, if you don't know who Charles Gros is, here is a little bit of that stream where he was talking about Ryland and Shane.
In my opinion, I think the voice memos that Shane made are the tip of the iceberg. God knows what else he was saying about who else to other people that he was friends with. A lot of people on social media do that. They're very mercurial. You're friends with someone. You don't know that they're talking about you to 650 people. That's just that. Why do you think Ryland was trying to minimize Trisha? Okay. I admire Ryland in a way, but at the same time, something about him, I don't know him. He could be the nicest person ever. I've never met the guy in my life. I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know. I'm just going off of guts. And it's just, I don't know, something about Ryland doesn't sit with me right. Don't you think Ryland got a pretty good deal? Like, this is just opinion, you know? But if they really do love each other, I love it. But literally, Ryland went from being a clever TV host to has his own channel with how many millions of subscribers, how many millions of views a video, bought a G-Wagon, moved into this house with Shane, is suddenly like here's Ryland's relevancy graph. Whoosh. Hello. Ryland got a pretty good end of the deal. So he better be loyal no matter what Shane does. If Shane theoretically was to murder someone, Ryland better zip his mouth and stay loyal.
I thought this was all really, really juicy. So Charles' opinion of Ryland is that Ryland is some kind of sugar baby. That Ryland lucked out by getting with Shane. Because Ryland's career took off since he got with Shane. That's not the only time I've seen that opinion thrown around. A lot of other people on social media have also made that kind of speculation about Shane and Ryland. You know, a lot of people think that Ryland is something of a sort of opportunist or a sugar baby. I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm saying that's what I've seen other people say. I don't know, you know, I'm not going to speculate about Shane and Ryland's relationship because at the end of the day, I don't know either of them. But it's interesting to me that people who know Shane from the past are coming out and saying these kind of things. Very interesting. Aside from Charles Gros, there are also other people who have been on this Shane and Friends podcast in the past, such as Gabby Hannah. Now, we all know Gabby Hannah and Trisha Paytas don't get along, but I do wonder now if Gabby Hannah is going to come forward at all and say anything about Shane Dawson, because I think she might have some kind of tea, some kind of dirt on Shane Dawson, because she was there at the time also. So I don't know if we're going to hear anything going forward from Gabby Hannah. But Gabby Hannah's been unusually very quiet in this whole situation. I don't know. I kind of think, oh, well, maybe if she had music to promote or something, then she'd be getting involved in this. But she's been very quiet so far about this whole entire thing. Maybe because she doesn't like Trisha. She doesn't want to get involved. I don't know. But we'll see if Gabby comes out, I think, over the next few days. But aside from that, aside from the whole Charles Gros, Peter Mon situation, somebody else is also kind of in this, and it is Garrett Watts. Garrett Watts put out a tweet, and somebody has said they think it's a subtweet about Shane Dawson calling people sociopaths. If you saw my video yesterday, we were talking about this a little bit, because Shane Dawson has allegedly been calling Trisha Paytas, well, we know he's called Jake Paul a sociopath because he made that whole docu-series thing on it. But apparently Shane Dawson had this in-joke when he was asked about people like Tana Mongeau, Trisha Paytas, that he would say to Peter Mon, when Peter Mon met him, Peter Mon said, Shane Dawson would say, the thing about sociopaths is, when Peter Mon asked about Tana Mongeau, Jake Paul, Trisha Paytas, he's calling them all sociopaths behind the scenes. Isn't that strange? And then he went on to make that docu-series, like I said yesterday, with Jake Paul, where the whole point was, is Jake Paul a sociopath? Now, I did see Morgan Adams upload a video yesterday also, and it was about her having a brain scan because she's been having some health issues. In that, Ryland brought up the topic of, oh my God, what if Morgan's a sociopath? Joking about it. But isn't that strange that both Ryland and Shane have brought up the whole sociopath thing? Like, are they obsessed with it or something? I don't get it. That's very bizarre. So I'm going to read you these tweets that I found. Somebody said, I love the characterisation that Bernie Sanders is a narcissist. Dude's been right about almost every issue for the last 40 years. He's pushing 80 years old. Finally, people are starting to listen. If he wants to sit there and feel vindicated, he's earned the right. I would as well. And this is the Garrett Watts tweet that I was talking about. Garrett Watts responded to this person saying, yeah, man, even outside of politics, people casually diagnosing other people with any level of sociopathy or narcissism is both a mind-numbingly ignorant and revolting trait. Those are rare mental disorders, not things to be casually tossed around because they fit a self-made narrative. So a lot of people on Reddit and stuff like that are now saying that was Garrett Watts shading Shane Dawson because he did that whole series with Jake Paul about being a sociopath, and he's been calling Tana and Trisha and all these people sociopaths behind their backs. So he's been going around casually chucking this sociopath word around. He's normalised that. When, in fact, if you're an actual sociopath, that is something that needs to be diagnosed by a doctor. Shane Dawson, to my knowledge, is no fucking doctor. So why are he and Ryland going around throwing sociopath around like a joke, and also saying that about people that they're apparently friends with in the YouTube world? It's very odd behaviour. Very, very odd. I don't get it.